What is up, my friend? I'm Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast, the show designed for videographers to build a better business, make a bigger impact, and enjoy the journey. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Core Group and Storyblocks. In today's episode, I interviewed studio owner Dan Bewley from Bewley Productions, and we talked about Dan's best tactic for getting new work. The struggle is real, how imposter syndrome is present and needs to be quieted, and then the importance of being honest, even to a fault, with new clients. You, my friend, are going to walk away encouraged hearing another videographer story, how Dan went from working in news to dreaming about the life that he really wanted, which meant leaving something comfortable and moving into something uncomfortable like owning a business. Let's hear from our sponsor, Core Group, and then we'll jump right in. If there was one thing that could have ended my business 17 years ago, it would be because of the numbers. I hate accounting, taxes, W-9s, W-2s, W-40s, spreadsheets, all of that stuff. And I hate it mostly because I'm afraid of it. I'm just not great with numbers. If this sounds familiar, or if you're so new in your business that it's not even on your radar yet, you need Core Group. Core Group can help you create financial systems and tax strategies that you need so you can grow profitably, and they've been doing this for over 20 years. They become an extension of your team so that you can stay in your lane of expertise and then lean on them to help guide you along the way. For me, having a team of experts in my corner to help keep track of our books and just to make sure that we're budgeting for taxes appropriately, to have an actual strategy for our taxes and our accounting is priceless. And it allows me to sleep easier at night, knowing that I don't have to be an expert in that arena. If you want to avoid surprises in your video business, and you want experienced help building a plan for the future that you want, both professionally and personally, head over to studiosherpas.com/core for more information. And when you're ready to set up a free consult with them, make sure to mention Studio Sherpas for a special discount too. Got your back. Get more out of your accountant. Go to studiosherpas.com/core. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to Grow Your Video Business. I'm Ryan Coral, your host, and with me today is Mr. Dan Bewley from Bewley Productions. What is up, Sir Dan?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you?
I'm so good. If I was any better, I'd be dead. Is that a saying?
Well, I can't think of a better way to start my day than to be here with you. So this is really exciting and a privilege for me to be on the other side of the screen with you.
Whatever. You're one of my favorites. For those of you who don't know, Dan has been a part of the Studio Sherpas community for quite a while. I actually don't know how long, but he's been active. He's been a part of a lot of other discussions. He's been helpful for other filmmakers. And I'm just going to name drop Guy here in particular. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Shout out to Guy.
Yeah,
Guy's probably holding babies and stuff.
Yeah. He's a great guy. I love working with him.
Yeah, he's awesome. So, Dan, tell us a little bit about what kind of work do you do today? And then I would love for you to just kind of paint the picture of how you even got started in all of this video stuff.
Well, right now, I mostly produce videos for nonprofits for their fundraising campaigns. Mm-hmm. And these, back in before the pandemic, when there actually was a group of, people would get together and meet for dinners and luncheons and dances and things like that. Yeah. I would produce videos for some nonprofits here in Tulsa, and it would help them raise money and raise awareness of their organization. And it's something I really like because it just, here in Tulsa, I mean, like everywhere, there are a lot of really amazing nonprofits that do amazing work. And for me to have the privilege and the honor of helping to tell their story and to help them grow is something I really take a lot of pride in. And that's something I really love doing.
Love that. So rewind, where and how did you even get introduced to video, and what's your journey been like?
Well, I've had a very odd journey. I started out in sports talk radio, of all things, producing sports talk radio in Oklahoma City, hosting a show on the weekends. Wanted to grow up being the next, Joe Buck, I guess, the next Al Michaels wanted to be the next big radio play-by-play guy. And I loved it. I really enjoyed doing it. And then just, through meeting people, I started getting into video and ended up in television news, TV news, believe it or not. Started as a videotape editor back when it was tape to tape. I know a lot of your listeners probably have no idea that you could even edit tape to tape, but that's how I got started. And I still have that analog brain sometimes in my mind when I'm editing. I have to kind of retrain myself to get out of that. But anyway, started as a videotape editor, then became a photojournalist in TV news, and then eventually as a reporter and anchor in local TV news. I lived in Austin, Texas, Virginia, in Harrisonburg, Virginia, here in Tulsa, of course, and then in Michigan, Grand Rapids, then the Kalamazoo market. I was a reporter and kind of a fill-in anchor there, and I absolutely loved it. It was really a lot of fun because you get to meet a lot of really interesting people from all different walks of life, and it really helped me become a better person. But after doing that for 25 years, and covering car wrecks and murders and crimes and corruption and things like that, it starts to wear on you. It starts to kind of get on you a little bit. And for the last 5 years that I was in the industry, I started thinking about, well, if I got out, what would I do? And most people, when they're in TV news, they end up becoming like a public relations executive or account manager or marketing manager. And I kind of like that, but I thought, I really love telling stories with video. That is my thing. I love telling stories with video. So I finally pulled the trigger in 2016 and decided to get out of the TV news business and start my own. About a year later is when I actually started my own video production company. So I was actually 46 years old when I started my company. I'm 51 now. And
you look good for 51, man.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So I'm kind of to this late in life, I guess you could say. I mean, not tremendously late, but still late in life. And I've had to just kind of relearn a lot of things about, these civic organizations have all these, 30 under 30 people, like these are the next movers and shakers. I'm like, I want the 50 over 50. That's the group I'm in, let's go.
That's good. I like that.
We face some challenges too. So it's been a challenge, but what I like about it is it's my challenge.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for me. If it works, it's because I made it work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, it's because I didn't make it work.
Yeah.
And I want to own that. I want to own that one way or the other. So it's really been an extraordinarily fun challenge.
Yeah. I love that. That's a really important differentiator when you stop working for somebody else, because it's great. Like I've got my good buddy Sean. He loves his corporate America job. I mean, he loves the safety, the security, the expectation that he knows how much he's going to make. He knows what his pay raise can be this year, what his bonus is going to be like in the future, all that stuff. But at the same time, like he has no control over what happens above him. Right, he can just do his best, and this. So there is like we're all wired so differently, and he just looks at me. He's like, "Man, I would never be able to do what you do. Like, you don't know like what work is coming down the pipe, but that's just the way it is. Like, some people are like drawn to that, and other people are like afraid of it. My encouragement always is, for somebody that is sitting in their cubicle and just like, I would love so much to have that freedom. My encouragement always is like, man, life is an experiment, and we're going to mess stuff up, and stuff isn't going to work out always the way that we want. But don't be one of those people that has that regret of like, man, I wish I would have, started that side hustle that could have turned into the thing. Do the thing. Life is just too short to stay in a cubicle if you have the desire to do something bigger, better, something on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, just as, someone who's north of 50, for those of you that might be, over 40 or that have thought about, like starting your own thing, but maybe you're, a little apprehensive because you see all these young bucks doing this, just do it. And it's scary, but it's really a lot of fun. And I did not want to be, when I'm 80 or 90, if I live that long, I did not want to be looking back on my life thinking, man, what if? I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. My wife, on the other hand, probably would appreciate the safety and security of a corporate job, but
Eh.
that's all right. It's part of it. So I would just say, yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's something you're considering, if it's entered your mind, you got to scratch that itch, man. You got to go for it. And while you're doing it, embrace the mistakes. I can't tell you how many mistakes I've made. How much, there's been some money that I've thrown out the window, but I try to look at everything in a positive view. It's like, okay, well, what can I take from that? All right. Well, sometimes you got to learn what not to do. And so, that would be one of my big, takeaways to people is just, you got to go for it.
Yeah. I love that. Play by play. I didn't realize that you did that. Could you ever do like a play by play of the podcast? Like you could come on and just like, we could lower the voice of mine and whoever the guest is.
I could probably do something like that.
Here comes Ryan with the silly
we're out live in Southeast Michigan.
So how would you do your hey, this is Dan Bewley reporting. What did that sound like?
You want me to give my reporter mode? See, this is what's odd for me is I've always been on the asking the questions in. When I was a reporter, I would ask the questions.
So let's just pretend like you're asking me, like, oh, we're here with Ryan Coral. Come on, just play with me here. Humor me.
All right.
That's good.
Good evening, everyone. We're live here with Ryan Coral in Detroit, Michigan. Ryan, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Dan. How are you?
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about your business. I understand you are in the video production industry.
Okay, that's enough. That's amazing.
It's different, isn't it?
You have to watch if you don't watch these episodes. That you're centering yourself was like that was worth all of the things right there. Dan, what's right now in your business? What's getting you most excited?
It's the back end stuff. It's the things I have learned from you, from your organization that have kind of helped my business. Because I always felt comfortable telling stories. I always felt comfortable with the video aspect of it. I don't consider myself a great photographer. I'm decent, and I'm not a great editor. I'm decent, but just in the overall scope of telling stories, I think I've always been comfortable and confident doing that. I don't know a thing about business. I don't have a degree in business. Nobody in my family has ever owned or run. I'm actually the first person in my family to own a business.
That's amazing.
And that I know of. And so I don't have anybody to look up to in that regard. I don't have any, safety net to look back to as well. So the business part of it for me was always like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I was doing. And I followed Studio Shippers for a long time without actually ever taking part. Some of it was money issues. Some of it was just, I'm not sure this is for me. Come on. All this stuff, this doesn't really work. But I finally said, you know what? I've got to do this. This is it. If I want my business, I've got it to, I grew my business pretty good, but I got it as far as I'm going to take it. And I'm going to need to get some help. And I need to learn how to run a business, how to be an entrepreneur, how to get everything from leads to just, how to properly format my website, all that kind of stuff. And so for me, the one thing that I'm really excited about is stuff that people will never see. It's the look of the website. It's the sales funnel that I'm currently trying to build. It's learning how to take people through that process to where they can trust me and know that I have their best interests at heart. And so that for me is something that I'm really excited about. And this is a marathon. I'm playing the long game here. And I know that. And that's but even though I know that, it's really hard because I was like, I want results now. Yeah. But I understand that it's going to take some time to get those results. So I am really excited about a year from now. What is my business going to look like a year from now? In my mind, it's Paramount Studios, right? In my mind, it's going to be huge. So that's what I'm really excited about. For me, is getting my business organized and figured out.
I love that. And, that's for me on this side, it's frustrating. There's so much training out there for videographers and filmmakers. There's so many good guys and gals out there that are doing really cool stuff. But a lot of times, like what we're drawn to is it's all about gear. It's all about like this cool commercial shoot and making, the shot just look amazing. And that is great. And like we should always be trying to improve in the craft and all of that stuff. But the stuff that we don't see, the stuff that we don't notice, it's like, how do you talk to somebody that might hire you? And how can you, without being slimy or sleazy, how can you present how you can help them, and how do you get people to charge or to pay you what you're worth? And like all of that stuff is so important. And I think there's some fulfillment that comes out of like, wow, look at this video that we produced. Look at this shot that I got. Like, that's really cool. That is great. But what's more impressive is like, hey, this past year we were profitable. I was able to pay myself a bonus. I was able to pay my employees a bonus. Hey, I was able to stay in business for 5 years, and a couple of first years we weren't profitable, but now we're finally profitable. Like that is really cool. That's where my heart lies, is like, I want people to like exactly kind of what you're saying. It's like, yes, the unsexy thing is like all of the business, all of like how to run this thing as a business, how to get people to take you seriously, how to, charge more than what you think, when you started charging. You need to be charging way more than whatever it was that you started, because it was not anything close to what people should be paying for this amazing skill, this gift, this what we're able to give to people. What for you would you say is one of your best tactics or ways that you find or get new clients?
It's been through networking and through just kind of, constantly kind of, talking with people and going out and speaking to different organizations. I'm actually, next week, I'm going to be speaking at the PRSA Tulsa, which is the Public Relations Society of America, the Tulsa chapter. I'll be speaking to them. And, that's full of obviously a lot of public relations executives, obviously being in news for so long and being in this market. I was in this market for a total of 10 years, I guess. You meet a lot of people through public relations, marketing, that kind of thing. And so I always just try to stay top of mind to them. When I started, of course, I was thought, oh man, I'm going to do this video. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to put it on Facebook and I'm going to get a ton of calls because everybody's like, oh man, that was a great video. That was amazing. I love that shot. That music was great. And obviously, that didn't happen. So I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Right. Yeah. So, that's when, I'd already started networking anyway, but that's when I was like, okay, this is more, word of mouth and word of trust is really kind of how I like to spread that, because it's people who you have worked with in the past that trust you. And then they know people who they can say, hey, I trust Dan, you can trust Dan. And so that's very important to me, is just to be that trustworthy person, someone who my clients can know that I'm going to do everything on time. I'm going to be communicate with you, and I'm going to give you the product that we talked about that you wanted. That's what is something that's what drives me. That's what is important to me.
I love that. Yeah, and here's the thing, like being in business, whether you're new or you've been doing this for a long time, it's all an experiment. Some things work, some things don't. But all of us fall on our face. All of us make, pretty decent sized mistakes. For you, you'd mentioned this earlier. Curious to know, like, if there's one mistake that would be relevant to share that other people might say, like, oh man, I don't want to make that same mistake. Is there something that you could share with us, a mistake that you've made that you've learned from, and you're like, oh, never going to do that again. Here's my big takeaway.
I would say, bet on yourself. Don't make the mistake of not betting on yourself, and to take that chance, to take that risk. There's a lot of little tiny mistakes here and there I've made, but big picture, I would say just don't be afraid to bet on yourself. That's why I started getting involved more with the Studio Sherpas. It's like, look, I have to bet on myself. I have to take this risk and say that, and look myself in the mirror and say, I'm going to do this. One of my biggest obstacles, honestly, has been imposter syndrome. It really has. again, confident in storytelling, but confident in business running and,
Yeah.
going out and getting clients. I mean, are you kidding me? That's not me at all. And that's, it's like, I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of charging this certain amount. And so as I've really tried to help myself kind of get out of that funk, I've started betting on myself, and that would include, raising my prices and raising, saying, look, this is how much I'm worth. And if you don't think that your whatever your project is worth that, well, okay, let's move on and let's find someone else. So that I think to me that would be one of the big things, is just don't make the mistake of not betting on yourself. Bet on yourself.
Back when I started my video company, stock footage, it used to be the worst. It was terrible quality, super cheesy shots, and really small selection, and it was really expensive. That is not the case with Storyblocks. They offer affordable subscription plans to their enormous library of stock footage, and with their unlimited access plan, you get access to the whole library, including HD and 4K footage. They've got After Effects and Premiere Pro templates, music, images, sound effects, and more. Seriously, there is tons. There have been so many projects where our team just needed one extra shot. Maybe the day after the shoot, the client was like, hey, this would have been a great thing to get. And we're like, or in post-production, they're like, hey, it'd be a really cool shot. We've saved our clients and ourselves a ton of money and headaches and heartaches. And we've saved a couple of projects that just needed that one special shot with our Storyblocks subscription. Head over to storyblocks.com/Studio Sherpas to help you create more video with their affordable subscriptions. I think that's so rich. We all are affected by imposter syndrome, and as mentioned before we started recording, I've asked so many other videographers and studio owners to be on the show, and 50% of the people I ask are always like, oh no, my business isn't where I want it to be, or what do I have to, I don't have anything to offer.
You're talking about me. You're talking about me, right? Yeah, you're talking about me. Yeah.
Well, you're one of the 50%.
Yeah, I know, because I just, I look at my bank accounts. I mean, I'm not like driving Ferraris and taking baths in gold-plated, bathtubs or anything. I mean, because
most of us are.
I mean, that's what's going on there at the Coral household, right?
Totally.
I mean, so that's the thing, is it's that imposter syndrome. It's that, I'm confident in myself, and but man, it's a challenge, to put yourself out there and to afraid of making that mistake, and afraid of people thinking, oh, well, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But I've learned that I do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's just, if I can get over that hump of it's okay for me to know this. It's okay for me to know that I know what I'm talking about.
Well, I think you're spot on. I also think in that same vein, it's like, you don't have to know everything, and that's okay if you embrace that too. So people are afraid of putting their photo on their website because it's just them. So they're like, oh, if I'm going to meet with a big business, I want them to think that we're a big business. So let's make all of our wording and everything say we, even though it's just me. Mm-hmm. And let's not put my photo on there because I want people to think that we've got a big team and blah, blah, blah. And that's just old way of thinking. That's not helpful. That's not good for you or for your clients. Some clients need to feel like, oh, okay, there's this big production house. Other clients are like, well, that's fine, but here's the video we need. I know it's just you, but do you have other people that you hire, or do you do all this yourself? And at that point, it's I actually do bring in, contractors, or no, this is actually a job that I would produce myself, and I can do it. I think trying to get past the imposter syndrome, there's always going to be a video company down the street or in your region or whatever that does way better looking work than you. Their website is way better. Their team is bigger. And if you find out that those people are bidding on the same job, you've got a couple of different options. One is just be like, okay, I know you're going to go with them because, maybe you'll go with us because we're way less expensive. Maybe that's the only thing I've got, because look at their work and whatever. At some level, good enough production is good enough. Like a client doesn't see like the difference between, well, they shoot on red and you shoot on a Canon C100. Like I don't know, it looks the same to me. You just have to own, like you're saying, like bet on yourself. You just have to own where you're at and be okay and know that, 6 months from now or a year from now, you're going to look back and be like, wow, like I can't believe that was the kind of work that we did, or I can't believe my confidence level is that low. You're going to keep moving forward and keep growing, and you just need to embrace exactly where you're at today. And when you go and talk to clients, just say like, here's what we can do. This is the kind of work that I do. I love the work that so-and-so production company does. That's, right down the street from us. That's not really the stuff that we do. I mean, you can look at our site. If you think it looks the same, great, then obviously hire us because we're not as expensive as them. But, I'm not going to be somebody that I'm not. I'm not going to try to be that company. This is what we're capable of. And if this works and you like our personality and our brand and all that stuff, then it makes sense to go with me. It's when we start trying to be or present ourselves like the company that we're trying to be, that's where things go wrong. It's like every movie that you watch where, like Aladdin or, is that what it's called? Yeah, Aladdin, where he pretends to be a prince. He's not really a prince. And that's where as soon as he does that, you're like, no, don't wish this because it's just all going to go downhill. You're going to have to, tell the princess. And then he's about to tell the princess the truth. And we just saw this movie just the other day, so it's fresh in my mind. And it is one of my favorites. But, that's the whole thing. Then you have to undo the lying. And it's like, well, was it really lying? Or is it, just not telling the full truth? If you're just, upfront and honest at the beginning and just own that. And that is okay. We all have to start somewhere. And nobody expects you to be somebody where nobody expects you to be somewhere that you're not yet.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah. When I started out, of course, I was, desperate for jobs. And, somebody called me up and say, hey, can you do this or that? And I knew I couldn't, but I would say, yeah. And, there's something.
No. You hadn't done a job like that. There's a difference between but then also betting on yourself and believing I can do that. I mean, I'm going to have to figure out how to do it, but I can do that. Yeah.
But, but also, getting to the point where you're comfortable, saying no, saying, look, this isn't a right fit, maybe, and it could be because of money. It could be because of vision. It could be because of just the actual work involved. But being comfortable of saying, that's not really in my wheelhouse. That's not where I'm not sure I can help you. I think being comfortable saying that, it took me a while to learn that. But being comfortable to say that, and you say it for the right reasons. I mean, obviously, if it's something that I hadn't done that I feel like I could do, then I would go for it. But if it's something that really wasn't my strength, just being honest and saying, I would love to work with you, but
yeah,
I'm not sure this is a good fit. And then, I mean, I know some other people here in town. It's like, maybe you should contact, this person or that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's I'm thinking years ago, we got presented with an opportunity to do this, like a 3D, like a motion graphics thing that was like 3D objects. So different than 2D motion graphics. And, the client was like, can you guys do this? And I was like, here's an opportunity. I can say like, oh yeah, we can totally do that. Which we had never done that. We could figure it out. But I was honest and said, well, we haven't, because then I'm thinking, okay, are they going to ask to see it? And I'm going to be like, well, I don't have anything to show you. Right. But yes, we've done these. So just thinking through like, okay, we haven't done this, but I know people. I know of, and so in the meantime, I'm like searching, like, okay, who do I know that does 3D modeling and whatever. Okay, I do know somebody, and talking to that person, like, hey, what do you charge? And what if we were going to do something like this, how much would that? So then I'm just trying to get an idea of like, is this feasible? And then going back to the client, and just saying like, I don't do that. We've got I've got a partner, somebody I can bring in for this project. And, for something like that, it's probably going to be, 4 times what I would charge for motion graphics or, whatever the case may be. Like that for us, that serve the client, because then they can say, they can make an informed decision. They can say, yeah, let's actually try. Because what we ended up telling them was, we haven't done any 3D modeling stuff like this before, but we would love to, because we know that this style is something that we would like to present in the future to other clients. And so would you take the risk in hiring us on a project that we've never done? We'll give you some kind of a discount on it, because this person's actually willing and hungry for the work, and we would love to have it on our demo reel so that we can try to sell these further down the road. So the client got to make a decision and say, like, and they actually said, yeah, we would love to get the discount, and we know it might take longer than anticipated, and we think we know what we're getting ourselves into, and just trying to paint like as honest a picture as possible, so that there's no surprises, or as little surprises as possible, while you just being full of integrity and just saying, like, we haven't done it, we'd like to do it, would you like to try it, would you like to try this experiment with us?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I think, and I think back several years ago, there was a friend of mine who owns a business here in town, and they were remodeling, and I was pitching all these different ideas for him to help, market and help produce some videos and things like that. And one thing I pitched to him that I had no clue how to do was like a long-term, like over a month period of time lapse, And when I was talking to him, I realized as I was talking to him, I have no idea what I'm talking about. And in the midst of the whole conversation, I was like, I am making a complete fool of myself right now. So I kind of slowly backed out of that. And kind of going back to mistakes, that's the case where I was jumping into a pool that, man, I didn't know anything about. I just had seen it done, heard it done. It's like, I can do that, but then, as he's trying to ask me all these questions, I'm like, oh gosh, maybe this isn't the right thing for me. And, that was obviously it was embarrassing, but it was something I did learn from. I learned right away. It's like, okay, yes, bet on yourself. Yes, take chances, but also, be realistic, be honest with yourself.
Yep. I love that. So, we're winding down here, but I want you to think a year from now. This podcast is going to go out. You're going to listen to it in a year, and you're going to look back and be like, oh man, that's hilarious, because
you're going to try to hold me accountable is what you're doing.
Well, what's your hope? What's the hope for your business in a year from now? What do you want to be doing, or like, what's the big thing?
Well, so right now I only plan, I barely plan a month out in terms of projects. I would love in a year from now to be able to look at starting June 2022 and have projects lined up for the next year, or at least, 9 months. I would like to be able to plan out a year. I would like to be able to have, maybe not necessarily contracts in place, but projects lined up. That's an important thing for me to be able to do. I would love to also be able to have, I'm self-employed. I found that out through you, which is fine. But I would love to be able to have some employees, and specifically people to help with client relations, because I know I'm confident that I have left money on the table because I either forgot or didn't reply in a timely manner to potential clients, because I'm trying to do it all myself. And, I've quickly learned I can't do it all myself. I need help if I'm going to be successful. So I would love to have someone, even if it's just part-time, who is helping with that. I'd love to be able to afford to be able to have that. Those are two things that are important to me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. One quick thought on that, the idea of client relations. We have a virtual assistant. We have a couple of virtual assistants, and then they have backup virtual assistants. So there's like many layers of virtual assistants just everywhere. One thought might be at the end of a project, at the close of a project, what would it look like to have an assistant reach out to a client and for you to have like a couple of canned questions or follow-up things or suggestions, like what's the next step or something like that. Doing something like that doesn't require a 40-hour a week or a 20-hour a week person. It could be somebody that for, 30 minutes or 60 minutes
Mm-hmm.
a week or a month, their main job is just to touch base with past clients. Like, how's it going? Like, do you need anything? Is there anything we can help you with?
Right. I think that's a great idea. And that is definitely something I want to do. I mean, I need to improve my systems, the pre-contact with the client systems and then the post-project systems, and I think what you're saying there is a great idea, and that's definitely something I'm looking at doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably easier than a lot of us think to do something like that. There are virtual assistants out there that will work for 1 hour a week or a month. I mean, sometimes I get the bill from one of our assistants, and it's like 0.63 hours. And there was just a very small handful of things that we need done. When I say
Right.
very small handful, it's probably like one thing that we need, one task.
Yeah.
But then there's other weeks where there's multiple hours, and they scale as needed, and that's great. And there's no commitment and all that stuff. So anyway, those virtual assistants are out there to help in doing something like that. Can serve your clients better. Like, the whole point there, the hope is that yes, there's a return on that investment if you're having somebody reach out, find out how you're doing, but your clients are going to feel like, oh man, like, Bewley Productions are reaching out just to see how we're doing, see if we need anything. And actually we do need something, funny
Right.
that you emailed us when you did. Like, those things will happen, and, staying top of mind. And then just to think like, well, there's a task, something that I don't need to do. That's rich. That can be really, really helpful for all of us.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to another thing I have really been trying to do over the last 6 months to a year, really 6 months, I guess, is get out in front of projects and get out in front of clients, because all too often in the past I've kind of parachuted in. They've already decided that they want to do a video, they want it to be this long, they want to talk about this subject, they want to interview these people, and they just want me to come in and shoot the video and then edit it. And I'm fine with that, because there's a place for that, certainly. But I really, my strength, I really feel, is more on the planning, production, logistics side of it, the writing side of it. And so that's where I want to be, where I'm trying to kind of flip that script to, instead of come in on, parachute in, kind of be the one that's packing the parachute, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be the one that's helping them out to plan that. So I think what you're talking about there kind of goes to that, right? I mean, because you kind of get out in front of, we finished this project and now we're slowly or whatever, starting to plan the next project, even if it's not for another 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. Dan, this has been awesome. How can people keep up with all the stuff that you've got going on? Where can they find you online?
Well, BewleyProductions.com is the website in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, I guess websites everywhere, but that's where I'm based, is in Tulsa. And then Facebook and Twitter. I'm not as active on Twitter as probably I should be, but Instagram is also Bewley Productions. So, that's actually a new name. I actually just rebranded and changed my name. When I first started the company, I originally called it Your Story Media. And the reason why I did that goes back to the imposter syndrome. I had some people say, well, Dan, you're on TV. People recognize you. You should call it by your name. And I'm like, man, I was just a peon reporter. I wasn't anybody important, and so I want to call it something else. I'm telling stories, so Your Story Media. But then just as I kind of started running the business and that kind of thing, I started realizing people, even though I was still 4 or 5 years out from being on air, people still recognize my name. I'm like, I would be stupid to not take advantage of that. So we decided to go ahead and rebrand and change our name to Bewley Productions. It's just, and that actually was kind of hard for me just because of that imposter syndrome. And it sounds dumb, and I feel weird saying that, but it's just, that's how I felt, And so luckily though, I'm getting over that.
I love that, man. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's super relatable. So you're definitely not alone in that, but good job.
Thank you.
Taking steps toward overcoming that imposter syndrome and making it less and less influential in your life. So good work there.
Well, I appreciate that. I couldn't have done it without you and Studio Sherpas and this podcast and just everything that you've done to help folks like me in our industry.
I appreciate that. Well, how do you want to leave us today?
just bet on yourself, man. Just look yourself in the mirror and just say, I'm going to do this, and go for it. Just take that chance and put yourself out there. It's the only way it's going to happen. Don't 20, whenever you're on I say 20 years for me, but whenever you're out there and your last days, don't look back and think, man, what if? I mean, 2 years ago, I started a passion project. It's something I've been thinking about for years. It's a total side business, not related to video production. It was something I'd had on my mind for years. It didn't do any good whatsoever, but I'm okay with that because I did what I wanted to do. I tried it. I was like, okay, it didn't work. I'm going to try something else. So just go for it. Just bet on yourself and move forward. Don't look back.
Onward. I love it. Yes, my friend Dan, thank you so much. This has been awesome. Do you want to sign us off here with your professionalism?
Yeah, let me think here. It's been such a long time. So, reporting live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Dan Bewley for Studio Sherpas TV.
See you, my man. Appreciate you.
All right, take care.
Thank you for hanging out on this episode. Here's a question for you. Are you experiencing imposter syndrome? If so, what is something that you might do to overcome it based on what you heard shared in today's episode, or maybe something, an idea that came to mind as you were listening? Share in the comments, shoot me an email, share in the Facebook group. We'd love to hear how you're processing this. Also, something I keep sharing with you, I'm really excited about this. We're going to be doing a series of live interviews with videographers, and we're going to be covering topics like live streaming, imposter syndrome, how to build your business as a solopreneur, how to charge what you're worth, and more. So go sign up. You can get notified of these live interviews. You can suggest presenters, people that can come on and share, people that you would like to hear from. You can introduce me to those people if you know them, if maybe they're yourself. Go to studiosherpas.com/live where you'll be able to get notified of these live interviews. I think these will be really, it's one thing to listen to the show and to hear, the journey and the story, but it's a whole other layer and element for you to come inside the room and kind of hang out and even be able to ask a question. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be really cool. As always, be kind, rewind, and visit our sponsors. Core Group, you can go to studiosherpas.com/core and get your stinking finances in order so that you don't end up owing the government thousands and thousands of dollars that you didn't know that you're going to end up owing them. And then also, work smarter, not harder, with a Storyblocks subscription to help you find stock footage, music, or other templates for your videos. Go to storyblocks.com/studiosherpas. And when you visit their websites and you reach out to them, that lets them know that, oh, hey, this show is actually, the people are engaged in these ads and they're relevant, and it just helps the show get produced and all that stuff. Lastly, join us in the Facebook group. We'd love to see your face, hear from you. So please go to the Grow Your Video Business Facebook group. You can just search that on Facebook. Come in, say hi. The water's warm. But seriously, we're better together, and it has been one of my life's greatest works to see other video studios connecting with each other, helping, offering advice, and networking and all of that stuff so that we can do this work for a long, long time. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you on next week's episode. Onward and upward, my friend. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye for now.